again, verses 24 and 25, because it's really a continuation of the theme that we read last week, where Jesus was talking about the negative response of the world to the disciples going out and sharing the gospel. And he says in verses 24 and 25 again, he says, the disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like his teacher, and the servant like his master. Here Jesus is really giving us a goal, if you will, for being a disciple. It's to be like Jesus. He's telling us what it's like to be his disciple. You are striving to be more and more like him. That's the goal. You think like he thinks. You do what he does. He's on mission, so therefore you should be on mission. But it's not just to be like him in the positive things. At times it may be experiencing the negative things that he has experienced. For instance, Jesus says there in verse 25, he says, if they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? Here Jesus is saying, look, you're going to be slandered in the same way I've been slandered. They're going to say things about you that may not be true, and they're going to say them about you just like they said them about me. See, Jesus, his detractors slandered him in the worst way possible in his day, claiming that he was associated with Beelzebul. That word, that name, is the Greek form of the word Beelzebub, which was a Philistine god that basically was known as the Lord of Flies. The Greek form of that name means the Lord of Dung. The Jews used that term Beelzebul as another word to describe Satan. And so when they were saying, you're associated, he's associated, Jesus is, with Beelzebul, they're saying he's associated with Satan, the prince of demons. You see, back in chapter 9, when we started around verse 35, in the verse that right before where we began a few weeks ago, Jesus had just performed a miracle, casting a demon out of a demon-possessed man, and the crowd that was there marveled to see it all, but it was Jesus' detractors, the Pharisees, that said this in verse 34, he casts out demons by the prince of demons. They didn't name him or associate him directly with Beelzebul there, but they were identifying him as being associated with Beelzebul. It would be later that they would actually use the name against Jesus. 2 chapters later from where we are now, in Matthew chapter 12, Jesus again is going to heal someone. The crowds are going to be amazed by it all, but the Pharisees are going to make this statement in Matthew 12, verse 32. It is only by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, that this man cast out demons. So instead of saying this person, Jesus, is of God, he is actually of the other one. The opposite of God. He's of Satan. This was the worst kind of insult that could have been hurled at Jesus. Now, if we want to throw out the worst kind of insult against somebody today, what would we call them? What would we call them? A Nazi, right? We call them a Nazi, somebody associated with Hitler. In our vernacular today, a Nazi would have been one of the worst things you could call somebody. And so saying that Jesus was associated with Beelzebul, it's the same kind of vibe, right? Jesus says, if they'll call me that, imagine what they're going to call you. Imagine how greater the insults are going to be hurled against you. If they'll say that about me, they'll say even worse things about you. And all of this points to the fact that they're going to face an extraordinary challenge. If you're going to be vocal about your relationship with me, Jesus is saying, if you're going to be my disciple and testify about me to a lost and dying world, if you persist with a mission, persecution is going to come. There's going to be pushback. It would happen. And so by laying it all out like this, Jesus was drawing a line for the disciples. He was saying, look, I want you to obey me. That's going to please me. But if you do, people are going to come against you. It could potentially be costly to you.